Hi guys, so this is going to be a paranormal video, but just a disclaimer before I start the video, if you hear any extra noises in the background, they are probably not paranormal because that's why. That's my dog, and my other dog is in here too, so if you hear any weird noises in the background, it's probably them, just letting you know. I have two paranormal stories that I'm going to tell you because people were asking about them on my Facebook, or we were talking about it on my Facebook, and so I have two stories for you. One is about there was a really, the very first house that we lived in, it was on a street called Bronson, and it was basically the house I grew up in from the time I was 4 years old, and then we finally moved out when I was 18, so for 14 years I lived there, and for 14 years stuff was always happening to me. Like, I don't know if I'm like psychic or anything, but I could always see and hear things in that house. And I don't know if anybody died in that house. I think I was so young that my parents never told me about it. And then when I asked about it, they just kind of like shrugged it off. So I really don't know. I tried to do research about it, but I couldn't find anything. But I don't know, I have a couple stories about that house, actually, but I'm only going to tell you these two main ones. One day, I was home alone, and I was 100% sure that I was home alone. And you know, it was one day after school, I was home alone, whatever, my sister did sports, so she was gone to sports practice or something like that, but she wasn't there, and my parents were both at work, and they weren't there, so usually after school, I would put on music, and I would do, like, my chores or whatever that I had. And so I was doing my chores, just kind of listening to my music, and I would listen to my music very, very loud for some reason. And out of nowhere, over the music, I start hearing somebody yell, "Hey! Hey! Hey!" And it was like a female, like, girl's voice. Like, not a grown-up woman, like a girl, like, maybe between the ages of, like, 12 and 15, somewhere in there. And I was a girl between the ages of 12 and 15, so that kind of made sense. But, I kept hearing this girl yelling, "Hey!" And at first I thought it was my sister, so I was just like ignoring it, whatever. Well, it happened like one or two more times, and then finally, like, after the one or two more times, that got really annoying to me. And so I turned around because, okay, let me situate this for you. In that house, when you walked in the front door, the front room was kind of like oblong shaped, so it was like a long rectangle. And then in the very, very front, when you walked in the door, here was the couch, here was like the TV, and then at the end of the oblong room was the dining table. But in the center of the oblong room, kind of across from each other, on this wall was the fireplace, and on this wall was the doorway into the hall. And it sounded like they were standing right outside of the doorway to the hall, like in the middle of the other room. And from the kitchen where I was at, because I was doing the dishes, loading and unloading the dishwasher and all that, I turn around, and from where I was at, because the dishwasher was like right here, and you turn, and there's the doorway to the kitchen. When you turn, you could see directly down, straight, past the hallway doorway, like past that little area, and to the front door. And I turned, and there was nobody there. And now, me figuring that it was probably my sister, she probably came home, even though I hadn't heard any doors open or shut, I figured it was probably her, she probably came home, whatever. I went and looked through the whole house twice to make sure that I really was alone, because I was just like, that did not just happen, did it? Did that really just happen to me? Oh my god, I think it did, and then that scared me so bad, because like, when this stuff happens to me, for some reason, I don't know why this one scared me so bad, because there are some that do and some that don't, but for some reason this one did, because it did not, like, I don't know, but that one scared me, and then I sat outside until somebody got home. And then the second one is later on we lived in a rental house, because we'd moved from that house into a rental house, and this one was a completely different house, and it was smaller, but when you walk in, there was the living room, which is kind of small, but off of the living room you had a hallway, and then there was like a doorway, and then a doorway, and here was the doorway to the hallway, and this was the doorway to the kitchen. Well, I left because I went to go and get a tattoo. I went to go get this tattoo actually. And I get to Body Jewels in the mall where I was going to get my tattoo, and I sit down and I start filling out the paperwork. And my sister, who does not believe in this, calls me and tells me that I need to come home. And I said, I'm in the middle of something. So they told me that they could save my paperwork and I could come back later. And so I was just like, okay, let's do that. And so I leave. And I get home, and my sister, because I was going to do my tattoo, and then I was going to come home, do whatever I need to do, and then go to work. Well, when I had left, I left my sister home alone. And she said that she heard someone, because in the kitchen we had a sliding glass door. And she said out of nowhere she heard the dogs start barking like crazy, because when people come to the door or they're in the backyard, my dogs tend to bark. They were barking and going crazy, and after a minute they stopped, and she said it sounded like the glass vibrated like something ran into it. And then she said it sounded like somebody was like stomping, running from the kitchen around down into the hallway, and when it got to the end of the hallway it stopped. So she got freaked out and let my dogs in. What did my dogs do? Of course they run right to the end of the hallway. And when I got home, they were sitting at the end of the hallway barking and growling like we had an intruder in our house, but there was no one there because at the end of the hallway was just a wall. Just a plain wall. There was no door. On either side there was doors into like bedrooms, but at the end of the hallway there was no door, there was no people, there was nothing. And speaking of that happened actually a couple times. It happened once when we were both home, and it happened once when I was home alone. And then there would be other times where they would randomly, if they were in, the dogs were in, would randomly run to the end of the hall and bark at the end of the hallway and growl like somebody was in the house when there was nobody there besides us that lived there. And so, anyways, somebody had asked to tell like some of my paranormal like ghost stories. And yeah, so those were times that I heard something. I didn't really see anything. Okay. I didn't really like see anything those times. If you want to hear about times where I like saw things, you can like go ahead and leave that in the comments below or something. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you even have your own ghost stories that you want to tell me, you can either leave them in the comments below or leave them as a video response, because that would be really cool, because nobody ever leaves video response. And of course, what's better than a better video response than paranormal ones? Anyways, see you guys later. Bye.